Welcome, listener. Tonight, we're heading underground, where things you never thought possible might actually exist. This is the story of a man named Eric and what he found beneath the Denver International Airport. Whether it's just a story or something that truly happened, we'll let you decide. Let's begin. Back in the early days of construction, before the airport ever opened, Eric worked nights underground. Time didn't behave the same down there. Without windows or natural light, the hours seemed to blur together, marked only by the low hum of machinery and the steady rhythm of the work. Some crews talked about it, quietly. They said sections of the tunnels didn't match the plans, that certain corridors appeared where they shouldn't, and that strange sounds carried up from deeper in the ground, from places no one had cleared. Most treated it like a rumor, something to pass the time. Eric didn't. He brushed it off as nonsense, right up until the night he stepped onto the wrong floor. He had only been gone a few minutes, tending to personal matters, but it was long enough to change everything. When he returned, the service lift stood open, as if it had been waiting for him. He stepped inside and pressed his floor. The doors shut. At first, the descent felt normal, but then it kept going, long enough for Eric to glance back at the panel and notice something was off. The same button was lit, yet the indicator hadn't moved. When the doors opened, he felt the difference immediately. The air was cooler, still. A faint electrical hum filled the space, steady and controlled. A hallway stretched out in front of him, bright white walls, polished floors, overhead lights that held perfectly steady without flickering. It felt almost clinical and completely out of place for his worksite. Eric stepped out. Behind him, the elevator closed quietly. Doors lined both sides of the hall, each with a narrow window. He moved forward, checking the first room, just rows and rows of filing cabinets. The next held an unoccupied office with 2 chairs and a desk. Then he reached the next door and stopped. Something wasn't right. A weight settled in his stomach as he leaned in and looked through the glass. Inside was a lab. Several people stood close together, dressed in white coats, focused on something just out of view. Then he saw them. 2 figures stood among the group. Their height alone set them apart, at least a foot taller than anyone else in the room. But it was the details that made Eric's stomach turn. Their posture was rigid, their movements wrong. Under the lights, their skin showed a faint green pattern, layered like scales beneath the surface. Their faces weren't human. Eric blinked. Reptilian. One of them raised a hand, long fingers, slightly too long, and gestured towards something on the table. The others nodded, listening, taking instruction. And that's when it hit him. These weren't people in costume. These were real, and they were working together. Eric stepped back slowly, trying not to make a sound. Then one of the figures stopped. Its head turned, slowly, not toward the others, toward him, through the glass. Eric felt it instantly, that shift, the moment when everything changes and you realize you are no longer unnoticed. He turned and ran. The hallway felt longer now, stretching farther than it should, as his footsteps echoed sharply against the walls, too loud, too fast. When he reached the elevator, it was gone. In its place stood a solid wall, smooth, seamless, as if it had never been there at all. Behind him, a door opened, slowly. Eric pressed his hands against the wall, searching for anything that would give as his breathing quickened and his thoughts scattered. Then, a soft chime. The doors appeared, sliding open as if nothing had changed. He lunged inside, slamming the button again and again, just before the doors sealed completely. Eric looked up. At the far end of the hallway, one of them stood outside the room now, watching him, closer than it should have been. The doors shut. When they opened again, he was back at ground level. Eric didn't finish his shift that night. He left and never came back. Years later, when someone asked him why, he only said this: "They knew I was there, and they almost didn't let me leave." So what do you think? Did this really happen? Or was it just someone's imagination? Let us know in the comments. If you enjoy stories like this and would like us to make more, please like and subscribe so we know that you do. Until next time. Stay spooky.